Mahalo, Manu. Aloha mai kako, and welcome to Midday Mana'o with Manu and Mehana. Proudly. Yeah,
Aloha,
add a little extra in there.
Kako.
Yes, because it's kind of ono. When we talk, it's ono for everybody.
Hopefully. If not, then add some mayonnaise and sriracha, and you'll be okay.
At the top of our show, we always want to mahalo our sponsors, the Council for Native Hawaiian Advancement and the Kaiser Permanente Community Benefit Fund. Mahalo nui oko for no kokokua mai yamako. Manu, we are like just vehi kahiko ia with this a'ali'i.
And mahalo kalei ia mai.
No, that's not why I brought that up, but okay. Just wanted to, kumu, like every time I see you, I think a'ali'i. And then you're wearing a shirt that has liko, which always reminds
I wore it because of you. Napuale olikole hua e o mai.
And I wanted to say that a little bit, how names are pili and imagery is pili to people, to places, and we have that connection. When we hear a name, when we go to a place, we automatically start thinking about so much different things, right? And recently, what happened on the island of Kauai was they had a name change that went on, and that name change it went from the Russian Fort Russian, what was the exact name of that place?
I know the name, I just can't think of it at Keia Minuke Ano. So all of you folks use a Hawaiian search engine, Go Ogle, and look up Russian Go Ogle. Get it? Russian Fort on Kauai.
Russian Fort Elizabeth. Yeah,
Fort, that's right.
On Kauai. It was recently
on the
changed
west side.
back. Yeah. Yes, on the west side, heading down towards Hanapepe and Waimea and Kekaha. And I didn't say that right, the Kekaha, all the pidgin speakers, if you want to, experience true pidgin, you have to go to Kekaha.
Yeah, Kekaha. Yeah, Kekaha has a different vernacular altogether.
Yes, and we love it. We love it.
Oko.
Yes.
That's in our regular, vernacular. But aloha.
To all you West Side peoples over there, but they changed it
Fort
to
Elizabeth. Okay.
Yes, changed to Pāʻulaʻula. Yeah. So they went back to that name that's pili to their ali'i kaumoali'i. Yeah. And there's a statue there, of him, and the community really rallied around that name change. Interesting though. There was, I found out from my good tita over there, Malia Nobriga from Hanapepe, the salt ponds, AO to the salt ponds. She was telling me that at the community meetings there, they actually had people from the Russian consulate who would come in to try and block that name change. Now, so name changing and Native Hawaiians reasserting ourselves back in these spaces, right, haven't been so easy as you might think. Of course, it should be Pāʻulaʻula. That's what makes sense.
When I think of Pāʻulaʻula, so Pa is an enclosure, or that's one of the meanings that it can be, and of course, ula is a color. When I think about the name Pāʻulaʻula for Fort Elizabeth, what really comes to mind though is what the Russians who overtook the place might have been wearing. The color of their uniforms or what. So and that just because, and even so, Fort Elizabeth, Pāʻulaʻula, or whatever that connection is with Lukia, which is the Hawaiianization of Russia. I mean, I wonder really what an older name, long before Kamehameha, because we're talking about Kava o Kamehameha, Kava o Ka'umuali'i. And so I wonder. And so sometimes we try to put names back to where we think they should be, but might have been something else entirely, Mamua Okela. So I think that's something to consider. But Pāʻulaʻula is the accepted new name with a Russian consulate or not.
Right. So the Russian consulate lost, right?
So was it Hawaiians a da or was it a niet?
See, I don't know that one. My Portuguese don't go that far. It doesn't extend all the way out to Eastern Europe.
And when we talk this ho'omake aka a little bit kind of ho'ohenehene, kind of making fun. But none of these topics that we discuss are ever meant to be disrespectful to anyone.
Yeah.
Because everyone has their own personal feelings about that. But Fort Elizabeth to Pāʻulaʻula, you could call it, Pāʻulaʻula at Fort Elizabeth or Fort Elizabeth at Pāʻulaʻula.
Yeah, I think the community rallied around Pāʻulaʻula, and so they've kind of reclaimed that space. And I don't know if you've been there lately. I just went in 2021, and the community is using that space actively. It was rededicated, I think, by a committee of people who malama that place.
Yeah, yeah.
So awesome for them, But we have even on our own.
Well,
island here,
before you get to Oahu,
okay,
I want to say and back to Malia Nobriga and aloha Tita. I'm happy that you're in the chat here, and their family, of course, with the Pa'akai and the Alaya. But Alaya, which is the iron rich
mud
soil, that red soil, that can possibly be an ula as well. So if you think about an older name, and this could be way before Kamehameha, or it could be around the same time as the Kahiki Anamai o Kapo'e Lukia, the arrival of those Russians that established that fort. Yeah, and caused a little bit of a hakaka with the Kupa ʻāina, with the people who are from that place, and with Nali'i Nui, the great chiefs of that time. But maybe Pāʻulaʻula could refer to the color of the earth at that particular area. I don't know, and I know that there are those of you out there who do know, and but let's go. Let's ho'i mai I keia ʻāina o Keone o Kakuhi Heva.
Actually, I'm going to encourage all of you out there that do know this mo'olelo. Put it in a chat. So jump into the comments as you're watching this, and ho'onui ikeia mako. Yeah. I'm going to actually jump over Oahu, now that I think about it, and go to Hawaii Island, to a place that is, world famous, in a sense. But for us, carries a lot of meaning, both in mele and in history, but there's also a movement in the area now known as Captain Cook to rename it back to a name that we know it as from the mele, Ka'avaloa. Yeah. And so what's your thoughts on that?
Interestingly, I just came back from that island, and we were in Kona, and I thought about that because we were down in Holualoa. Captain Cook as a place name, and it has its own zip code, I think, and everything. I think that it has served a purpose for a long time, kind of putting that area on the map, and the stories of and the mo'olelo maoli. I mean, the true stories of Captain Cook arriving on Kauai in 1778, in Kealakekua in 1779. But I wonder if his name really needs to be the permanent marker of that area. Ka'avaloa and Kealakekua, and we were talking earlier because, again, my hula tita over here, Napuale Oliko Lehua, one of the songs that they have done for many, many years is called Hali'ilua. And Hali'ilua is a stream down in that Ka'avaloa area. And the idea of changing and let me say this about that. Something I learned from Puakea Nogomeyer many years ago, and I really didn't expect to learn this from him, but he talked about it is the kama'aina of the place that give the name or the names of those places, and then over time they might change. But Ka'avaloa is definitely an older name. Kealakekua, we don't know. That really sounds like a name that was really pili to Kahiki Anamai o Kapena Kuke, the arrival of Captain Cook. But Ka'avaloa, I don't know, maybe the people in Kona, because sometimes those things mean a lot to you. If you've been writing on your you put the stamp on the envelope and you put, my name is Mahialani Mahina Poi Poi, and I live in Captain Cook, and here's my zip code, and you get ma'a to that. So how does that helia ma'a equate or balance against or weigh against going back to an older name?
You know, I experienced that actual conversation about letters being sent when I went to Aotearoa for the first time, and they took back the Maori people who live in Hamilton, the area known as Hamilton today, right, back to Kirikiriroa. Right, and they were discussing, actually, there was a vigorous debate, this is in the late 90s, there's a vigorous debate about amongst the community members because of that. They were saying, wait a minute, all of our mail goes to this place called Hamilton. You know?
Right.
That means we have to pretty much upset a whole system of interaction, right? That we have.
Business and commerce and all of that.
And today, the last time I went to Aotearoa and into the area of Hamilton must have been maybe about 5 years ago, so pre-pandemic. And thankfully, what I've seen is more people have adopted, because of the vigorous nature of how the Maoris were kind of approaching this in the various, from the community level to the local government level to the more national level with names, they were able to get people like Hele au Ma'a to reclaim this name. So maybe time is the
the idea too, again, about as I mentioned, and I think I learned this from Puakea, but I mean the idea of the kama'aina are the ones who will sort of give names to places like Sandy Beach and Pearl City and all of that. But we have to remember too that many of the kama'aina are not necessarily oiwi at the same time. I went to, years ago, I went to a WIPSI conference in my position at Kamehameha Schools, the World Indigenous Peoples Conference on Education, and we were in Canada, but the place name that we know today as Manhattan was brought up. And we learned that from the Oiwi over there, that the actual name of that place is Manahata. So Manahata has become Manhattan over the years because of outsiders, perhaps, or others who have kind of changed it. But that's an interesting thing for all of you who live in Soda Creek, right here in Ewa, Kolowaka Avenue, which means soda water. Think about it. Okay?
Hoi hoi. Yeah. You know, and there's other ones, right, that have come up more and more, right? Lanikai Ka'ohao.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
My family is well known because of this valley called ʻāina.
Yes.
Right? You could drive East Hind Drive.
But is it not Wailupe?
It's Wailupe,
exactly.
Right? And so
I said exactly. So all of you named Zachary out there, that's for you. Exactly.
You know, so we're in this space and time where now
I have
Hawaii.
I have one. Central Intermediate School has been renamed to the owner of that Apanaʻaina, that land area called Ka'akopua, but it was the home residence of Princess Ruth Ke'eli Kolani. So for all of you, now this is a different kind of thing though, because Central Intermediate or Central Middle School, it doesn't really have that heart tugging kind of replacing one proper name with another proper name. Central, it is now Ke'eli Kolani Middle School, which I think is unbelievable. And that reflects back, I think, again, we mentioned at one point in our discussion along the way, Lili Noe Sterling and the works of Halau Mohala Ilima, Kumu Mapuana de Silva and Kihei de Silva, taking back or putting aside the made up name of Lanikai and putting it back to Ka'ohao. That's like Hawaii Kai really is Mauna Lua. And Hawaii Kai is not an old name. It's named for the developer Henry Kaiser. So I always call it Hawaii Kaiser. But the point is that those names, and the fact that we can even have these discussions. Do you have another example of a potential name change? You
know, the one that has been contentious over the years has been McKinley High School.
McKinley.
Right. McKinley High School has been on the docket, and we don't have enough time to dive deep into this, but Google McKinley High School, Native Hawaiians.
Or Google McKinley.
Or
and
McKinley.
See how he felt about people in Hawaii in general.
Yes. And it's still that, but it's that tension that you talk about. You know,
you get your class ring. What you gonna do? You're gonna change them.
Right. And you know, and most people nowadays will say, "Hey, change. Let's take a look at that history." Yeah. Right, and let's be enlightened. You know, and move on. But it is tough.
We're gonna get back to McKinley High School because I think the history about President McKinley is really good. I remember also, this is right before your time, but because I'm a little bit before you.
Just a little bit.
That is Kauaʻi Center for Hawaiian Studies that we are both graduates of at University of Hawaii at Manoa. But the fact that the address for Kauaʻi is on Dole Street. And that if you know what we're talking about or what I'm saying is a whole nother can of worms. I mean, named for Sanford B. Dole, the president of the Republic of Hawaii that overthrew our Queen Iliʻuokalani. So that's what this is all about. Midday Manaʻo with Manu and Mehana is to talk about things that we don't necessarily know of all of the details about these things, and we also don't want to come across as being maha'oi. And maha'oi is when you're sticking your nose in somebody else's business. But I think the fact that we have a forum like this, and mahalo to CNHA for this forum, to just bring things up for the sake of discussion. And, you know, we all have different mana'o, and we respect and honor other people's mana'o kekahi.
Yeah, mahalo, Manu, for that. You know, before we bring in our guest that we got to spend a little bit time with earlier, I just wanted to say the issue of naming is not something unique to Hawaii, right? Secretary of the Interior, Deb Haaland, just created, you know, a task force, a derogatory names task force, right, that really approaches this issue kind of head on, because there are so much offensive names, not only throughout Hawaii, but throughout Indian country, throughout any native country, actually. But what she did was she was able to pull a task force together to be able to approach and see how these can be changed. Why? Why would one of the highest offices in Washington, D.C., or why would the De Silvas, you know, actually go through that
right.
problem is because names tell us and it helps to inform us who we are.
It's identity.
Right? I am Mehanaokala. I am the warmth of the sun.
I am Manu Aikohana, yes. The tasty bird.
Yes. I did that just because I wanted to know. I wanted him to share with you what his name meant. Yeah,
there's more to it. That's my grandmother's family from Kohala. But I want to say one before we move on. But right down the road, we're here in Kapolei, and we're in the Malu or in the Alo, in the presence of Pu'u or Kapolei. Oh, yeah. But down the road is what was known for many years, and a name that was Pili Ikava o Kamehameha, and that had to do with Captain Barber. So Barber's Point has been known as Barber's Point since the time of Kamehameha, but we were able actually to change that back to its older name that has to do more with the measurements of geography, Kalailoa, the distant point. Now I hear people often trying to pronounce it saying Kalailoa. And so just for all of you out there, before we move on to our next subject, Kalailoa. We skip over the ka, Kalailoa, instead of Kalailoa. Okay? Kalailoa. Go ahead.
No, mahalo nui.
Sure.
Mahalo nui. And now we'll bring on our special guest. Of course, she's big T to me, but she is Dr. Noe Noe Wong-Wilson to share with us what is the current status of what's going on Mauna Kea.
Imagine a destination experience that embraces our ʻāina, people, and all that we love about home. A shared kuleana between Kama'aina and Malihini. And a visitor industry focused on keeping Hawaii, Hawaii. It's time for a new chapter. Join the discussion at the Native Hawaiian Convention July 19th to the 22nd. For more information, visit hawaiiancouncil.org.
So lucky us that we have amazing guests that come and join us. Yeah, Manu?
Hi.
And right now, from the island of Hawaii, all the way up in her hale, which seems like your hale is on Mauna Kea, when we drive up that road, but you're not quite on Mauna Kea. We have Dr. Noe Noe Wong-Wilson. Aloha. Aloha, Big T.
Aloha.
Oh, aloha, Manu, and oh my gosh,
Mehana.
No, it's okay. No, you know why? It's because she calls me Little T, and I call her.
No, you know why? Because she is the warmth of the sun, and you are the mist of the mountains. Noe Noe Mehana. And I'm just a bird who goes Mauka and Makai.
Oh, that's funny.
We're so fortunate to have you here today, and we both know you, from all these years and all the different circles that we run in. But you're the current executive director of the Mauna Kea Foundation, and I say current, but actually, I think you've been the only one since the inception of the Mauna Kea Foundation, way back in the early 2000s, that spearheaded Kauaʻi as one of its major undertakings. You have also taught at the universities. You have given your life to community, and what this generation is younger generation now, what they see you do is occupy, or what they've seen you do before, right before COVID, was occupy that ala kupuna, up at Mauna Kea. Yeah. And such courage and bravery was exampled there for all of us, right? All the younger people there by all the kupuna up there. And you became kind of like their de facto spokesperson, up there, which is a tremendous kuleana, besides living up there, right? And getting the most amazing tan that you guys you guys was a papa from being up there for so long.
Right.
Yeah. But what made you well, first of all, what does Mauna Kea mean to you?
So yeah, Mauna Kea is my home, Mehana. So I know it seems like that we're on the lower slopes. 1,200 foot elevation is where my house is, but it is on the slopes of Mauna Kea. So our everyday life here, especially on the east side of Hawaii Island, is dictated by the presence of this particular Mauna. It determines our weather, right? Whether it's going to rain or not, and even guards us, we believe, against the big storms that come this way.
It's guarded all of us, actually, right? That's our kupuna mountain that we call on here on Oahu when we need the Mauna to break up the storm, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And every night when I sit in my easy chair and watch TV, and the wind starts to come down the mountain about 10 o'clock at night, then that really cold breeze that comes all the way from the summit comes right in through my window. So, Mauna Kea's presence is every day in every way in our lifestyle over here. So, yes, we believe that not only physically, the Mauna has everything to do with our life, but even spiritually and philosophically, the Mauna's presence is what helps guide us on a daily basis.
What were some of those amazing moments on the Mauna, for you?
Oh man, there were so many, and I was one of the fortunate ones that stayed up there for about 9 months. I have the only place where I experience being in nature, just surrounded completely by our environment and by our kupuna, right? By the wind, by the sun, the moon, the stars, the weather, the mist. The only other place I have experienced that has been out at sea. So I know what our va'a sailors, when they go into the deep blue ocean, I know that same experience having sailed myself. But the only place on land I have ever experienced that is on Mauna Kea at night. And as you know, that wasn't a place where our kupuna actually lived. I mean, our physical kupuna didn't live because the environment is so harsh. But there's nothing more beautiful than sitting in your easy chair, your lawn chair, right, out on the lava in the middle of the night, just wrapped in blankets because it's so cold, and having nothing but sky, stars, moon,
Beautiful.
clouds in front of you and surrounding you.
You know,
So,
Noe Noe and Mehana, you know what we call an
Beautiful.
easy chair, the noho ma'alahi. I wanna hey, so Noe Noe, and you know what? And you've said this twice in the last few minutes about the moon, the stars, the wind, the sun. And I want to shout out the beautiful mele, the beauty of Mauna Kea, written by Kapono Beamer. Kapono Beamer's grandparents lived in Waimea, Uncle Pono and Auntie Dambi. And, you know, the moon moves around her, or the wind, the moon, the sun, and all of that. The lyrics are beautiful. I can't remember them, you know, at Keia Minuke, I know. But, you know, and although when that song was written, it was a different experience with Mauna Kea, and yet it was exactly the same. You know what I mean? A different 1970s.
Right.
And so what you are doing and reminding us of is the timelessness of Keia aloha ʻāina, ahe aloha nui no ia. This love for the land is not something we just learned and figured out. It goes way back, not just to the 1970s, but way back to Kava Kahiko.
You know, mahalo for that, Manu, because you just right there just connected different times and spaces and the significance of how that kind of carries on. So from the 70s, right, for us, right, we get this just tremendous wave of activism, right, that's going on, right, that starts, again, rumbling at that time, right? We have Kaho'olawe that we're dealing with. The Va'a, you know, is being built and born and sent across the ocean, right? There's Kalama Valley. There's just so much things that's happening in that time. Now we fast forward to 2015 to 2019, and Noe Noe becomes one of those kupuna that get arrested on the Mauna. Right, and again for love of land, right, for aloha ʻāina.
And before you react to that, I wanna make a comment because I can. You know, and because we have been raised in an environment to ku'e, which is to resist and to stand differently. But for all of our lahui, all of our Hawaiians and everyone in Hawaii, when you are gonna ku'e something, I would like to find 5 other things that you ku for, that you stand for, and not just ku'e. So that's just a mana'o, but pea ko mana'o, the kauhana e Noe Noe, vivo ole no hoi o he koa wahine oe.
Mahalo. You know, that's perfect introduction to actually what's currently occurring. And that is that House Bill 2024 that makes a really big change in how we, as the people and as the state of Hawaii, are going to take care of this most precious place called Mauna Kea. So I think it's an opportunity that I look forward to if the governor signs the bill, it's on his desk, for us to shift from ku'e to ku. And that's exactly what it is, because we have been in the position of having to ku'e for generations, right? So this tells you how old I am. In 1968, when I graduated from Kamehameha, is when the state decided that Mauna Kea might be a great place for observatories and for the field of astronomy. And since that time, it has only grown to proportions that we now have to ku'e about, because it's too many, right? And that's what the whole movement was for the last 10 years in trying to fight one telescope. Right? Not fight the whole development per se of what's going on in the mountain, but that one telescope, too big, too late to be placed on our mountain. You know, we now have an opportunity, to now coup for something, and to coup for the proper care of Mauna Kea, and
You know,
that's what I believe the House bill
What are
does.
what are some of the highlights of this bill? Because bills can get long, they can get
Yeah.
kind of entrenched in various language and such, and so the average Kanaka out there may not understand. What are some of the highlights in this bill that really kind of set us on this path to now just ku and malama from now?
Right, right. Well, so the bill allows for a complete shift in the management structure, and that is something I think is really important, right? So, in the shift of the management structure, it creates the new authority, but it places seats in this decision-making body for Hawaiians and for community, and that is something that we have never experienced in the almost 55 years coming up, that the state and the university has been involved in the management of Mauna Kea. So to me, that is really, that's really a win for us, right? Now, any legislative bill of this sort really gets into legalese and gets into the weeds, you're right, about that. But some of the big parts of the bill that I think is really worth us supporting is that it provides for the purpose of the authority to now be the protection of Mauna Kea for future generations. So instead of astronomy being the whole purpose of the summit, which is what we believe how the summit has been treated, this bill really turns the scenario and says, no, the protection of Mauna Kea for generations is what's really important here, and all other human uses, including science, including astronomy, including commercialism, tourism, including recreational use, has to be managed properly within that context. And we see that happening everywhere anyway, in all of our Vahipana areas.
I wanted to ask you, what doesn't the bill do? Right, because so as you're talking and you're listing all the great stuff, right, that the bill does, and it looks for many of us, and just us, I mean, everyone that has been taking a stand and doing the incredible work on the Mauna, there's hope here in this bill to have that paradigm shift. But there's also, we live in the era of fake news, right? We get a lot of things that people are reading into this bill. What does this bill not do that people are saying that it does, that we should be worried about,
So, yes, thank you. So first of all, my disclaimer, I'm not an attorney, right?
And mahalo for that.
I'm a Hawaiian practitioner. Thank you very much. So what the bill does not do, and I'll speak on behalf of the Mauna Kea Working Group, the 15 of us that were asked to and assigned to develop the new proposal for what has become a bill. What it does not do is it doesn't remove any of the protections for Mauna Kea that currently exists. It does not remove the land out of the public land trust.
Okay.
There's no intent or no language that even says that. And I know that is a concern because the bill transfers the current university leases to the new authority out of DLNR. While the authority will still report administratively to DLNR, it doesn't change the status of the land in any way. So it doesn't remove the land out of the land trust. Therefore, OHA should continue to
support
receive their 20%
Right.
portion, right? And then it goes into a lot of detail about that, but it also doesn't have any effect on any federal laws that govern, historic sites or anything of that sort. There's no language in there, and even if the state tried, I don't believe that we can, by state law, say we're not going to comply with the federal law. So,
You're right.
that is not there, right? So those are the two big things that I can recall having
No,
been
mahalo.
questioned about.
Mahalo for
You know,
that.
mahalo for that, and I wanna interject a little mele coming up
Yes.
shortly, but I want to say and imua o kalehulehu in front of all of our people, okea naina, the audience, that you know ko ano malie, you have such a calm demeanor, and you speak of things that are koʻikoʻi. You know, and it's and I've always admired that about you, and I think that you are effective as a leader. You are a reflection. I can see Atipua in you. I can see many other, and your own kupuna, of course. But I see something that maybe we can all take a lesson
Yes, yes.
from. You know, ha'avina. And sometimes we can scream and yell and ku'e. But when you say to ku, I think that's really important. I want to mention earlier the Keola Beamer song from the 1970s, The Beauty of Mauna Kea. But I also want, and the only one time I went up to Pu'uhuluhulu during that va, I was able to share this pauku. The song is called Pauahi Okalani. And for those who went to Kamehameha schools and for the faculty and families, that song we've sung for generations. Thousands of people know that. And we sing 3 verses. Noho wana kawahine, ua ike ina paia, and ho'iana no nae. There are 2 other verses. And one of them I would like to share with all of you now and then I'd like you to react to that. And this is that one of the verses we don't sing. And this is not a criticism. Kamehameha Schools, Founders Day, December 19th, the Laha Nau of Pauahi. And the song is written by her kaikuaʻana, Lili'u. Before she was even Lili'u o Kalani, she was Lili'u Kamakaʻeha. And this is that verse we don't sing. Lili noe, holi ahu, vai ahu, ka hou pokane, ka kupua, ka ma'aina, ole kua iwi, e ola o kalani, and so on. Pea ko mana'o no kela.
I just wish I could harmonize with you, but I know that when you try to sing with somebody on this kind of online, it doesn't sound too good. But I love that verse. Yes, absolutely. And so, that is an acknowledgement of what I mentioned earlier. Our elementals, right? Our environment and what we refer to as our gods and goddesses that people often mistake to be a religious dogma, and it is in fact our acknowledgement of those things that we don't give birth to, and those are the elements that embrace us, surround us, that we have to learn to live within.
And that is aloha ʻāina.
Oh, yeah.
And I think we all need to learn that's kuleana. It's a privilege. It's a feeling. It's an emotion that is my ole. And ina kau a kau. It never ends. Aloha ʻāina. That is, and you are a great manifestation, representation of aloha ʻāina.
Oh,
Would
yeah.
you agree, Mehanaokala?
I totally do. So, Big T, what's next? What's next for this? Bill,
Did you just call her Big T?
Yeah, I call her Big T.
Yeah.
Okay, Big T.
that's-
What's next?
And Mehana's my small t.
Yeah.
We have called each other that for many
That's
years.
beautiful.
And by the way, I've been
by
taking
the
notes
way,
for 20 years. Like you said, we should take notes on her. I know. I was like, I've been taking
and
notes for
because
20 years.
I
Yeah.
know you can call ano me your name.
I also want to say, Manu, you can just sing to me anytime. I love it.
And you call me
Personal
anytime, and
concert.
I'm good until about 11 o'clock at night, and then I'm not available. I'm open.
So what's next is, we're hopeful that the governor will sign this bill. And then I want to kahea to our community out there. We need people, the right people with the right kaimana'o and the skills to sit in these seats. It's not good enough to just sit by and say somebody else could do them, because when we say that, other people sit in the chairs for us, and then they make the decisions that affect us. And so we as Kanaka, we as Kama'aina, if you can support the purpose of the authority to protect Mauna Kea for generations, and you have skills as an educator, as a land manager, as a person with finance and banking kind experience in Mana'o, those are 3 seats that are set for community to participate as members of the authority. And there will be a process that the governor at some point will announce how to be nominated for a seat, and then he gets to choose. And we need our good Kanaka to be in those seats.
Noe Noe, I'm looking at you, and we're all seeing that beautiful ki'i mahope'o, even with the telescopes in the background. But maka no'o no'o Hawaii, in Hawaiian thinking, and this is for all of our kids out there and everyone, what is huge in our mo'omeheu, in our mo'olelo, is the relationship between Papa and Wakea. And Papa Hanau Moku, or Papa, is Mother Earth. Interesting that, Papa is really a mama.
Right.
Anyway, Papa Hanau Moku and Wakea and Mauna Kea, or Maunakea, or Mauna'awakea, is the first place, Bakeia Pai Aina Nei, where Papa and Wakea meet. And that, to me, is the sacredness of that. You bring in Kane Ho'alani, the sun, and the hau of Poliahu, Lili Noe, Kaho Pokane, and Waiau, and that causes the hau to hehe'e, to melt, and that brings vai, which goes down through the honua, which is Papa, caused by the activity of Wakea, Kaumai Iluna. And I think that how easy that is. It's like the noho ma'alahi, like the easy chair. It's just that easy. Anyway, just here Mana'o Valeno. This is what Midday Mana'o is all about. Brought to you by the Council for Native Hawaiian Advancement.
Yeah.
And in that mo'olelo, Mauna'awakea is the hiapo.
Right.
Polole.
So as we jump back into our show and we leave you with that breathtaking vision that you have every morning when you wake up there on Kaiviki Road of Mauna Kea, I want to ask you a fun question. Who was your favorite visitor on the Mauna?
Oh, gosh.
I know the answer already, I bet you, but you go ahead.
We get bets over here going on.
$2.
$20, I know.
Okay, you can have 2. Who's the 2?
Okay. Jason and Pohaku.
Okay, so I just won $20.
Yeah, there you go. See? So Jason and who?
Pohaku the Rock.
Oh, the Rock. Yes.
But she didn't say Mehana or Manu.
Right, because we were both there.
But we never bet on ourselves, though.
That's right.
Jason.
So it's okay. Yeah.
By the way, we gotta get together with Jason. We're gonna bring him on the show.
Right.
Jason, who? That remains to be seen.
We're gonna use your name. We're gonna drop your name. No. We're gonna tell him.
Drop, baby,
Jason,
drop.
You have to come on the show. Auntie Noe Noe said,
But
hey,
you know what? But and not to make fun of that, but there were thousands and the halau hula. And Halau Kekuhi, Il Kanaka Ole Foundation, that really managed and taught and shared the protocol through chants and dances and hula pahu. We don't bring our pahu out any old time.
Yeah.
And we did for Ilio Ula Okalani. We do for Lala Kea. And by the way, I'm a derelict former board member, but I'm much more ready now in case you're interested. Yeah. And also for Pu'uhulu Hulu.
Oh yeah.
The pahu. And the mele by Kavena Pukui, inspired by her aunt Pu'uheana, that's where Poliahu comes from, is amazing and powerful. Elike ho'i me oe e Noe Noe. Mahalo nui.
So mahalo, and yes, we will come back again and probably call you on the show after the governor signs that bill. And talk about, for real, what are the next steps? Who's going to sit in those seats, right? And what kind of vision do we have for the Mauna now? So mahalo nui.
Mahalo nui.
Kuiho.
Great to see you, and aloha to your ohana and to all of Ko moku o ke ave ma, ke aloha.
Aloha.